counsel's office tried cutting an immunity deal with Monica Lewinsky when they first confronted her at the Ritz-Carlton back in January. It had not gone well.
Republicans at that time were up talking about the importance of the rule of law, but they denied a young 22-year-old her constitutional right to an attorney for 11 hours while they browbeat her into giving the lascivious details about an affair.
Things didn't go much better after her lawyer, family friend, and medical malpractice attorney William Ginsburg got involved.
Monica's then counsel was not a criminal defense lawyer. He was going on TV, I think 5 times on one Sunday, saying preposterous things. And when you're in the situation we're in, you want to negotiate with somebody who actually knows the territory. And the news from Lewinsky headquarters was we're never going to cooperate, etc.
The prosecutors grew frustrated. The independent counsel thought it crucial to interview Monica in person before coming to an agreement.
Ginsburg said, look, we'll give you a written proffer. And ultimately, we made the decision after much shouting and screaming and name-calling not to accept it.
Defense team sources tell us that talks indeed broke down between Monica Lewinsky's attorneys and also the Office of Independent Counsel Kenneth Starr.
Eventually, the family decided that their lawyer was perhaps not serving Monica as ably as was wise.
So by early June 1998, Ginsburg was out.
There never would have been an in-person proffer with Monica Lewinsky if she hadn't gotten new attorneys.
Less than 2 months later, on July 27th, prosecutors secretly met with Monica and her legal team at the New York City apartment of Ken Starr's mother-in-law.
The purpose of the meeting in New York was really twofold. First, to determine whether or not Monica was going to be truthful. The second purpose was to determine how far she would go, because she could be truthful but not tell us everything that she knew.
Monica was nervous. This had been a very rough time after a number of false starts and with the whole world glaring down on her.
Monica, during that session, was cooperative, scared, worried, truthful.
He knew, and became very clear during the meeting in New York, that she still cared for the president very much.
That session went precisely the way we would have expected it to go.
The next morning, an immunity agreement was signed.
We, as counsel for Monica Lewinsky, have reached an agreement today that for her full and truthful testimony, she will receive transactional immunity.
This was a pivotal moment for all of us because you have the principal witness against the President of the United States.
As part of that agreement, the office required her to do 2 things. One, come in and have an interview and tell the truth. And the second was to produce the dress.
The dress was the single most incriminating piece of evidence that the president had lied.
Linda Tripp told me that Monica Lewinsky had a dress with the president's semen on it. I really couldn't believe that. It seemed to me extraordinarily odd in the extreme that anyone would save something like that.
When this story first hit, the White House orchestrated campaign was that she was a stalker. She was a lunatic. Hillary is quoted as referring to her as a narcissistic Looney Tune. The girl was not a Looney Tune. She was a mixed up kid, but she would have been destroyed by them with no recourse, nothing.
The navy blue dress was worn by Lewinsky during a February 1997 sexual encounter in the White House.
Monica said that she didn't take the dress to dry clean because it didn't fit her anymore, and she just kind of threw it in the back of her closet.
Linda Tripp then urged her to hold on to it.
I told her it was her insurance policy.
The navy blue dress. Now, all I would say to you is, and I would rather you had that in your possession if you need it years from now. That's all I'm going to say.
I knew that not only would he lie, he would destroy anyone in his path. And I wanted to have the proof.
Our charter from the Attorney General said you're to determine whether perjury was committed and possibly other offenses as well. And so the blue dress was simply one part of the evidence that tended to point in that direction.
It was going to prove one way or another, the end of the case.
A year and a half after Monica had tossed the dress in the back of her closet, and the day after her immunity deal was signed, it arrived at the office of the independent counsel.
But there it is. It's hanging up on a coat hanger in the conference room, and everybody's going down there seeing if they can see the little white stain on there.
If the president's genetic material was on that dress, there would be no denying that the president had not been telling the truth to the point. And if it had been something else, we were going to look like major idiots.
Just above the belt, in the center of the dress, was a small stain.
It was sent to the lab in Quantico, Virginia, and that the people that dealt with the dress didn't even know what they were dealing with. They just tested it.
Word quickly came back that there was enough DNA to do a comparison test.
We had an all-hands-on-deck meeting to discuss issuing a grand jury subpoena to the president for the production of his blood.
We asked Kendall for a blood sample from the president. It's very significant that you asked the chief executive of the United States of America for a blood sample.
It was necessary to get the president's blood because he forced federal law enforcement officials into this position. It wasn't their fault. The indignity that occurred was President Bill Clinton's fault.
On August 3rd, 1998, under the cover of darkness, Bob Bittman quietly headed to the White House map room and supervised the drawing of the president's blood.
We were told to go to a specific gate, and sure enough, the Secret Service was waiting for us in my car to go to the White House.
Bob Bittman went over with a nurse and an FBI agent.
When we walked in to the map room before we took his blood, I think he was tense, but he was very outwardly cordial.
The mood soon soured.
I think it demeaned the presidency and the president to take his blood to compare it to the dress.
The agent asked me afterwards, noticed his red face, and asked me if I thought it was sunburn, and I said that was no sunburn. That was, I believe, anger.
Bittman and the FBI agent watched closely to ensure the integrity of the procedure. The DNA characteristics tested were unique to one in about 8 trillion people. If the results were positive, there would be no denying a relationship. The lies told behind closed doors at the Paula Jones deposition were now close to being exposed.
It could have all been stopped in its tracks had the president done what he should have done, refused to testify and settle the case.
But it was too late for that now, as it became clear to the president that he was careening towards a very public reckoning that could alter history.